おやくるくる敵データ収集方程式は定まりました。反撃の時間です。くるくる
Hey guys, today we're talking about PELA. PELA is a 4-star ice type support character that specializes in debuffing. I think PELA has some value as a debuffer, and I think she could be a potential alternative if you're looking to get Silverwolf. I know they're not the same type, but they do the same thing pretty much as far as debuffing goes. So if you're planning on saving for Silverwolf, you might look to PELA to use temporarily. Alright, let's take a look at her kit. So her basic, nothing special, 50% single target, cool. I know that might seem repetitive when I say that, it's just because very few characters do have a little bit difference with their basic attack, so for that reason I have to say that every time. Okay, for her skill, she does 90% of her attack to single target, and then there's a 100% base chance to inflict weaken, and then this weaken status reduces the enemy's damage by 20% for 2 turns. Of course, these are the numbers for level 1, remember, so the on-screen numbers will be different. Taking a look at her ultimate, does 66% of her attack to all enemies, and then there's a 100% base chance to lower the defense of all units by 30% for 2 turns. So it's 2 types of debuffs. We have weaken on single target with her skill, and then we have lower defense from her AoE. Her talent gives her a little bit of energy regen. Every time her attack inflicts a debuff on the enemy, she gets 4.5 energy back. And then lastly, her technique, it's an ambush skill. Immediately attacks the enemy, deals 80% of her attack to a random enemy, and then there's a 100% base chance of lowering defense of all enemies by 20% for 2 turns. Okay, let's take a look at her bonus stats. As you level her up, her bonus stats, she gets 5 ice damage boosts, 3 attack boosts, and then 2 effect hit rate boosts. Okay, for PELA's bonus abilities, her first one, she deals 20% more damage to debuffed enemies. Cool, so that works with 30 debuffs and then other debuffs, which we'll talk about when we get to Lycones. We'll talk a little bit more about other characters. Her second bonus ability, when she's on the field, all allies' effect hit rate increases by 10%. And then lastly, her third bonus ability, enemies weakened by skill deal 20% less damage to PELA. Okay, this is editing, Sam. I realized I made a mistake. Before you watched the Lycone segment, I realized that I actually didn't know how one of the things work. So Sampo's Lycone increases DOT damage. And I actually don't know 100% sure if that applies to just the character it's on or if it applies to other characters. So for that reason, I want to say now that if the light cone Eyes of the Prey does not increase other characters' DOT damage, then everything I'm going to say is incorrect. But it's theory, and there's only 2 light cones, so it's worth exploring options for both of them, okay? I just want to clear that up. If DOT damage does not increase on other characters, then PELA's signature light cone, Good Night and Sleep Well, is the best one for her. Okay? Cool. With that disclaimer, this next part is just rambling, but I'm keeping it in. Cool. Now let's take a look at her light cone. So her path is the Nihility, and there are 2 4-star light cones currently for the Nihility. They're the same as Sampo's. If you watched my previous video, I'll quickly go over them. We have Eyes of the Prey, which is increases effect hit rate by 24% and increases damage over time damage by 24%. And then we have Good Night and Sleep Well, which increases damage dealt to enemies with debuffs, and then for every debuff, the damage increases by 12% up to 3 times. This also applies to DOT. As far as these Lycones go, these are the only 2 4-stars for the Nihility as I'm making this video as of the second closed beta. I think which one you go with depends on who you run. Eyes of the Prey increases effect hit rate by 24% and then increases DOT damage by 24%. Effect hit rate isn't as useful in PELA since she has a 100% base chance on her abilities. I don't know how much enemies resistance affects this number. I don't know how much you need to overcompensate your effect hit rate yet. I don't really know how the multipliers work. Having a lot of extra effect hit rate isn't as useful as it would be on like Sampo, for example, since his ability or his base chance of his ability start at like 65%. So it's a little bit different. As for Good Night and Sleep Well, this increases her damage, right? So if you didn't have DOT characters, you could put Good Night and Sleep Well on PELA, and then that would increase just her damage for all the debuffs. But then, alternatively, if you're running PELA with DOT characters, you probably want to run Eyes of the Prey. You use PELA's light cone to boost your other damage over time characters' damage, if that makes sense. So you're using her light cone to support your other characters. So Eyes of the Prey, or Good Night and Sleep Well, it really just depends on who you're running with PELA, and that will determine which will be more valuable. I haven't tested this out yet, but I think I'm going to because this whole team is going to be 4 stars anyway, and you get 2 of them for free. So I really want to see how this team works. So PELA, Sampo, a DOT character, and then Natasha as a healer. So you have PELA for your weakened / lower defense, and then Sampo for your amplified DOTs. And then you have Serval or a flex like DOT character, and then Natasha for healing. So PELA would increase the damage of your DOT if she had Eyes of the Prey like Konokupt. Sampo would increase the DOT of himself and Serval because of how his kit works, and then you have Serval or any other damage over time character. And I don't know how that would work, but it seems like the debuffs plus with the amplifying damage, it might be really good for a full 4-star team. As you'll see, it's not as much as other characters, but PELA gets some value from having debuffs stacked, and Sampo's really good at stacking debuffs on an enemy, so they might pair really well together. Okay, enough rambling about team comps and light cones, let's take a look at Eidolon levels. Alright, so level 1, when an enemy is defeated, PELA regens 5 energy. Level 2, it extends the duration of weaken from her skill by 1 turn, so that goes from 2 turns to 3 turns of weaken. Level 4, her ult deals 50% more damage to toughness of the target. So basically this helps with breaking shields and stunning them. It's the white bar above their health. And then lastly, level 6, when PELA attacks, if the target has 3 more debuffs, it deals 80% of her attack immediately as ice damage to the target. But yeah, that's pretty much it for PELA. She's just your a little bit more toned down debuffer since she's a 4-star. But I definitely want to see how she pairs with Sampo. I used her a good amount during the beta, and I think PELA with her weaken and lowering defense, and then Sampo amplifying DOT, he can buff himself and then another damage over time character, and that could work out really well. So we'll have to see how that works in the future. Let me know if you have any questions about PELA, how her kit works. I'll try my best to answer. And one last thing, completely unrelated to this video. I was a little late and I didn't want to make a separate video. I didn't know if it'd be kind of weird or not. But if anyone is watching this and they're looking forward to Tower of Fantasy, remember to pre-register your email on their website for extra rewards for when the game comes out. They're pre-registration rewards, and you're definitely going to want those if you plan on playing Tower of Fantasy. But otherwise, that's it. Make sure to subscribe if you like the video, follow me on Twitch, and thanks for watching. See you.